to the opening line report. Kelly Stewart here on this gorgeous Monday morning. Teddy covers alongside me. We're going to talk all things NFL Week 16. But before we do, we got to bring Teddy in because I got to know, what did bettors learn last week?
Week 17, Kel.
Week 17. Oh my gosh, Teddy.
We got 2 weeks left in the regular season.
Time is flying when you're having a good time.
The Week 16 show was last week, though. You can still watch it in the archives. But obviously we're on to week 17 now. Merry Christmas to all of you out there. Happy holidays. Thank you so much for taking time with us here in the WagerTalk family. And we're going to break down every game, talk about where the line's open, where they're going to move, what happened that's impactful from yesterday. But you know how we like to start, Kel. We like to do a little recap of what just happened.
Yeah, Teddy, yesterday was interesting to say the least. I will say, as a dog bettor, I'm mad that I didn't have a little more dogs on my card. I actually had way too many favorites, and I had some really nice CLV trophies that ultimately did not matter whatsoever.
Yeah, I mean, the dogs go 8-4 on Sunday, and the favorites that covered yesterday, they weren't the popular favorites. Bengals, Vikings, Falcons, Saints, all sub 500 favorites who covered. So every team that was above 500 and favored yesterday failed to cover the spread. Good week for the house when that happens. Overs, let's call it 6-5-1. Yesterday we'll grade Dallas and the Chargers as a push. 13 teams have now been eliminated from the playoffs, which leaves 19 teams still alive with 2 weeks to go and Monday Night Football tonight. Obviously, in the AFC, only 2 teams have clinched playoff spots. 2 more will clinch tonight if Indy loses. In the NFC, 5 of the 7 playoff berths are already clinched with 2 weeks to go. So there's really only 10 or 12 teams that will have something truly meaningful to play for the last 2 weeks. Tricky times in that regard.
Yeah, let's get into Monday Night Football really quick. I know that we touched on last week's show. This one's going to be interesting to me, Teddy, because what do we see from teams, because there's several of them that have lost their starting quarterback, have a serviceable backup. But last week you went off. You said, Kelly, Grandpa Phillip Rivers is not the savior for the Indianapolis Colts. Kind of break down Monday Night Football. Let me know what you got going on for Monday Night Football. And usually you have a free play video up on your page, but I think this is going to be a premium selection for your clients.
Sure, yeah. There's a free play video up for Monday Night Football on YouTube. Just go to the WagerTalk YouTube channel. If you haven't done so, subscribe to the WagerTalk YouTube channel. We got 250,000 subscribers, or approaching 250,000 subscribers. Get instant alerts every time the videos go live. Great day. Again, if you haven't done it, do it. Subscribe to the WagerTalk YouTube channel. When I talked about Phillip Rivers last week, I was talking about Phillip Rivers and his arm strength. And Phillip Rivers did not test Seattle's defense. The passing game was dink and dunk. At the end of the game, when he had to throw the ball downfield and tried to rally they had a couple of seconds to go, it just wasn't happening. But that said, from a team chemistry standpoint, every quote coming out of the locker room after the game was, "We love Phillip Rivers. Phillip Rivers is a leader. Phillip Rivers helped us." And for other parts of the team that were struggling, the effort, they had a bad game in Jacksonville the week before Rivers got there, a really bad game with Riley Leonard behind QB. And that certainly wasn't the case last week in Seattle. They were playing, Rivers' leadership was on display in that game, and they talked about it a lot afterwards.
Okay, let's get into those Christmas games. We got 3 of them on deck. And Teddy, when this schedule came out, right, because I was looking at it for Circa Survivor purposes, of course, I thought, all right, this is going to be 3 really awesome games. And after yesterday, now I'm going, I don't love any of these games. Dallas Cowboys, we'll start with them on the road at the Washington Commanders.
So there still might be 3 really awesome games, but they're not going to have that much in terms of playoff, because Dallas and Washington ain't getting in. Detroit has a chance to get in. And Denver's ready in, and KC isn't. So from a playoff drama standpoint, not really all that dramatic. So with every game, we're going to give you 4 sets of point spreads. I'll give you the look-ahead line from last week. These are the bettable numbers. I think I wrote them down on Wednesday of last week. Then we talk about how much one game influenced the point spread and the total. Then I'll give you my powering number. That's simply Team A, Team B, home field. There's no situation involved in my powering number, but I'll give you the look ahead, my powering number. We'll talk about where the number opened last night and then what it's doing since the open. So with Dallas and Washington, look ahead line, Cowboys -3, 51. My powering number, Dallas -3.5. The markets opened 5.5, 50.5 last night, and we're seeing nothing but Cowboys money. -6, -6.5. It's reasonable to think, Dan, if your hand is on the button, it's reasonable to think that this might be worthy, even at 6.5, of an emergency betting alert. Here's why. At 6.5 with juice, where's it going to go? It can only go to 7. All right. Therefore, I'm not convinced it will go to 7. But it's not like there's going to be a groundswell of support for the Washington Commanders right now at this stage of the season. They were competitive with Marcus Mariota on the field. Once it came to the third stringer, Josh Johnson, the fight wasn't there. And this is most assuredly a Josh Johnson line. I don't think Mariota's going to play. I don't think Jaden Daniels already out for the year, And again, this team went 12-5 last year. Now they've lost 9 of their last 10. They're 4-11. Dan Quinn. It certainly feels terrible to hear that record. And with Josh Johnson in the field, what do they do? Punt, interception, 3 and out, ball game. And of course, it's not like this defense is in great shape either. But Dallas, from a defensive standpoint, it's a difficult team to lay a touchdown with. Bottom line, with the emergency betting alert, I kind of got off track there. But this line, I'm not convinced it will go to 7, but it can only go to 7. So if you like the Cowboys, not going to hurt you to lock in at 6.5. I don't see Washington money coming. And obviously, if it does go to 7, you'll be getting the best of the number right here at 6.5. That said, I can't lay a touchdown with Dallas. I don't think I lay a field goal with Dallas. Last week, they make J.J. McCarthy look like Patrick Mahomes, the good Patrick Mahomes. This week, it was the Chargers in the mother of all flat spots. Herbert throws for 300. They rushed for 150. They hung 34. They didn't break a sweat. Matt Eberflus moved from the coaching booth, moved up to the coaching booth on the sideline. Didn't help the Dallas defense 1 iota. 3 losses in a row since that 3-game winning streak. Dak Prescott. I don't love this quote either. They played a better full game than us. First half, we're rolling. We didn't get a stop on defense. Second half, we got stops on defense. We weren't doing much. Hearing a lot of quotes from Dallas talking about the season in the past tense right now. Not a lot of quotes from Dallas saying, yeah, we're going to be able to beat someone by margin on Christmas Day.
You mentioned the Lions still have an outside shot of getting into the playoffs, Teddy. Yesterday was kind of just one of those really strange games where I thought the Lions just got beat up and down the field. Minnesota had real opportunities to lose that game to the Giants as well. Now Detroit's headed into Minnesota as a road favorite with the chance, again, to maybe salvage their season.
So the difference between second-string quarterbacks and third-string quarterbacks, all right? We just talked about a third-string quarterback in Washington. We're going to talk about a third-string quarterback for Minnesota with Max Brosmer. And third-string quarterbacks can't play, all right? It's the rule, not the exception, is third-string quarterbacks are a big drop-off. As much as second-string quarterbacks are a big drop-off from the starters, the third-stringers are not NFL-caliber players. Detroit, 3.5 and 49 was the look-ahead line. My powering number came 4.5. The markets opened 5.5 and 44.5, and now we're seeing 6 out there for the Lions. And, we talk about Dallas's bad defense. Detroit's defense has been awful. Got absolutely gashed yesterday. They got cluster injuries in the secondary. The last 4 or 5 games, they've given up 27, 31, 30, 34, and 29. Pittsburgh, season high in yards yesterday. 481 yards against this defense. Now, Detroit had won 15 consecutive games after a loss. Now they've lost back-to-back. It's the first time this happened since they started 1-6 in 2022. And, of course, Dan Campbell's aggressiveness once again came back to hurt Detroit. They went for it on 4th down early in the first quarter. All right, the first scoring chance, and they failed. And at the end of the game, guess what? If they kick that early field goal, at the end of the game, they can kick a game-winning field goal. Instead, they have to throw to the end zone, and they have 2 penalties calling back touchdowns, and that's that. Talk about the secondary for Detroit and the defense. The offensive line's a problem, too. They could not run the football at all yesterday against Pittsburgh. 12 carries, 15 yards. Goff took 3 sacks, including a safety. They went 1 of 4 in the red zone. It's not a team I'm excited about backing on the highway right now, even with that great track record off a loss. That track record ended yesterday, and they're still mathematically alive. Goff, we know the percentage is 8% chance, according to ESPN. We know we're not eliminated. We know we need some things to go our way. But, for Minnesota, yeah, they got the win. against the Giants with Max Brosmer behind center. But, he got shut out in his previous start. And a fourth quarter in a tie game, he did lead Minnesota on a game-winning field goal drive. It's definitely worth noting how slow the Vikings played once Brosmer came on the field yesterday. Every play came down to the last 3 seconds before they snapped it. And the game was a dead nuts under, and Brosmer, in my mind, is a dead nuts under QB. And the quotes are positive after the game. Kevin O'Connell talked about it. And of course, Minnesota had the whole issues with the flight getting to New York, and the flight was delayed, and they had to get off the plane and take a different plane. Kevin O'Connell was an interesting 24 hours or so for our team. I'm proud of the way the guys handled a little bit of adversity yesterday and found a way to win a football game. But Minnesota's not a team I'm excited about backing on Christmas Day either, any more than Detroit. I know I'm not taking Detroit, but Brosmer's not a QB I can put my money on.
Yeah, third string quarterbacks are kind of abundant this late in the season. The Kansas City Chiefs will also be running with a third string quarterback against the Denver Broncos. Denver off that, I don't know, very awful loss at home to Jacksonville. Teddy, I'm looking at your notes and it's like they were due to lose at home. Fine, maybe. It was almost like beat yourself over and over and over again type scenario there with that game.
So, number one, the Jags played really well and converted a bunch of third and longs. Number two, teams don't win every game in the end. There's a reason that no one's gone perfect since the Miami Dolphins did it. And even when the Patriots did it, that's Tom Brady at his peak and Bill Belichick at their peak. And if you remember, the whole back half of the season, they didn't cover a point spread. They covered all the point spreads early. They didn't cover any of them late. I think they went 1-8 down the stretch against the spread, that undefeated New England team. It's hard to win every game. And when I said that, the Broncos were due for a long time to have a loss, but they were really due yesterday when Jags came to town and they took a ton of money in that ball game. Good result for the house. Look ahead line here, Denver -5.5. There were -6s out there as well. Total 39.5. My powering number after we've seen Kansas City go to their third string quarterback, Denver -9.5. The market said 9.5. Let's make it 13. Markets opened 12.5, 13 last night. And that's what we're seeing today, even 13.5s out there for Denver and KC. And just an FYI, this prices Kansas City. This line prices Kansas City as, if not the worst team, if not the Tennessee Titans, close. The Jets. That's where Kansas City is being priced right now. That's how they played yesterday. For what it's worth.
Well, Teddy, we talked about this weeks ago, and I said, hey, we're still pricing this Kansas City team like they're a playoff team. Now, granted, I was way ahead of the world saying this was going to be an awful year for Kansas City. I bet them no playoffs, but they showed some moments of greatness early to start the season, and the wheels just started falling off. Is there a reason why, power ratings wise, whether it's you who does their own power ratings or Vegas, just kept not downgrading the Chiefs enough?
Sure. Because of the track record that Kansas City has. The team's been in the Super Bowl, 4 of the last 5 years or five straight years. They've been in the AFC Championship game in each of the last 5 years. They had proven they can get there and have success even when it's not just the offense clicking. And Mahomes, they were able to have that sustained level of success for a long time. So I'm not surprised that the markets were still high on KC and giving KC a fighting chance. Just like Denver was due to lose, KC, this whole offseason, like KC's due to lose. I want to bet Chiefs under, but I just look at Reed's track record, look at Andy Mahomes' track record. I couldn't get there. But you don't have the sustained level of success. Not every year. Even the Patriots dynasty.
Very true.
Patriots didn't win a Super Bowl between 2005 and 2013 or 2014. It was like 8 years or 9 years in the middle of a dynasty that they didn't win a Super Bowl. You don't have it every year. I think the Chiefs will be back, but this year wouldn't be here.
I absolutely think the Chiefs are going to be back.
They will. Mahomes is a winner, and Mahomes will have more opportunities in his career. So that being said, so Denver lost yesterday. They outgained Jacksonville yards per play 6.8 to 5.1. They had a franchise record now tying 63 sacks in the season. They sacked Trevor Lawrence 5 times. But what happened yesterday? 2 turnovers, 6 penalties. They allowed 4 of 5 red zone touchdowns. They came in as the best red zone defense in the NFL and allowed 4 touchdowns and 5 red zone chances. The defense didn't force any turnovers. Just had a bad game. Defensive tackle Malcolm Roach, quote, "It's always good to have a short week after a loss like this." Sean Payton, quote, "I said to them, one of the things you've managed to do each week is get on to the next challenge. I think the same thing has to apply, especially on a short week. So, you show them the ability to digest the game before and get on to the next challenge. You'll have to do the same after a tough loss." So Payton's expecting his team to handle the short week being a positive, not a negative. Kansas City played like a quit team yesterday. Minshew didn't even last a half. The third stringer, Chris Olajuwon, 11 of 16, 111, no touchdowns. He was sacked 4 times. But, Andy Reid, quote, talking about Olajuwon, quote, "I probably could have given him better stuff to work with. In particular, give him some more reps during the week. He didn't have any of the reps to lead him in. But for what he asked to do, I thought he did a nice job." That being said, the net 82 passing yards, net 51 rushing yards. Bad offense with Mahomes, awful without him. And the defense, they allowed 164 rushing yards to Tennessee. Cam Ward posted his highest passer rating of the season against this team. And, more injuries. Juwan Taylor on the offensive tackle, he's out for the year now. Rashee Rice didn't play. Left tackle Jalen Moore didn't play. Trent McDuffie didn't play in cornerback. It's a veteran team with the old guys sitting right now. I can understand why the line is where it is with Kansas City, even though it is higher than my powering number. Clearly, I didn't adjust the Chiefs as much as the markets did, even though I have them now as a bottom 5 team in the league.
Yeah, we'll see how many of the starters continue to play throughout the rest of the season for the Kansas City Chiefs. Speaking of starters, this is really sad. Ariel Epstein and I talked about going to this game in Green Bay. I love the Packers. She loves the Ravens. Yeah, both backup quarterbacks look like it's going to be Malik Willis and Tyler Huntley. Now, it's not 100% confirmed, but I would probably guess that will be the case come Saturday. Teddy, I didn't watch the second half of that Ravens game. I had the Patriots in teasers, and I said, okay, this is probably close enough. Can I just please go to bed? It was one of those long viewing days that I was ready for it to be over. The Packers, though, that was why I was so tired on Sunday, because I stayed up to watch that Packers game. And it took some years off my life. Let's leave it at that.
There are bad beats in this league. I had Seattle on Thursday, which was a wrong side winner. And then I had Green Bay on Saturday, which was a right side loser. So, it's large print giveth, the small print taketh away. Sometimes you get really frustrated in this league. And when they pile up on each other, that's when you have a bad run. That being said, there's ways to beat the NFL. And this game might be a piece of the puzzle. Let's talk about it. Baltimore and Green Bay. Look-ahead line here was Packers -3, 46.5. My powering number. This is a Tyler Huntley versus Malik Willis powering number. My powering number came Green Bay 1.5. The markets aren't, there's 2.5s out there right now, 40.5, but this is not a mature line. This is low limits because there is a possibility still that Jordan Love will play for Green Bay. He's concussed. They'll have to go through concussion protocol. There's a possibility. There's an equal possibility, or maybe even a better possibility, that Lamar Jackson will play for Baltimore. Jackson had a back injury. He was hurt or the game yesterday. And Tyler Huntley came in and did what he did. He dinked and dunked and scrambled, and he was okay. They run for 171 rushing yards. But Derrick Henry didn't touch the ball last 12:50 in that game, which was a little bit bizarre. And the offense, Baltimore's offense just doesn't work the same when the quarterback isn't scrambling. Lamar yesterday, he's got a bad back. He's got bad hamstrings. He's got bad everything in terms of injuries. 2 rushes for 7 yards. Huntley 2 rushes for 2 yards. And that's how they lost the game. And then, of course, Zay Flowers fumbled. It feels like this team has a lot of really bad fumble luck at the wrong time. John Harbaugh, after the game, tough loss. We didn't do the winning things we need to do. We made some mistakes that cost us. 3-6 at home, full season. That's the worst home record in the franchise history. And they entered the season 22-3 under Harbaugh in primetime games at home, 0-3 this season. They need a win and a Steelers loss this week to make the Week 18 game meaningful. Obviously, this number likely to move significantly based on Lamar Jackson's status. And for the Packers, Malik Willis, he came in, he played fairly well after Jordan Love got hurt. 9-11, 121, threw a nice touchdown pass, no interceptions, 44 yards on the ground. but the fumbled snap in OT, that negates all of that. And Green Bay went 0-5 in the red zone. The first 4 drives, they were inside the Bears' 10-yard line. They had 6 points total. And then Romeo Doubs couldn't handle an onside kick recovery. Then they had a botch coverage on 4th down to allow a touchdown to Jahadi Walker, who had 0 catches in his career coming into the game. Matt LaFleur, quote, "It should hurt because these guys, all of us, put a lot into this thing. So we had opportunities. You're up 2 scores late in the game, and unfortunately, it flipped pretty quick." Green Bay has been pretty good about bouncing back off losses, but this point spread is going to move based on injuries and injuries only as the week progresses. Be aware. And again, it's not the game's not even lined at a lot of books just yet. They want more information on which of these 2 QBs has the potential to suit up, but we may not know until warm-ups on Saturday.
Yeah, that's unfortunate. You always want to get some of the best of the information in regards to that. So keep an eye on the injury report headed into Saturday. Let's go to Saturday night, Teddy. The Houston Texans, boy, oh boy, did they give me a scare. I asked you on last call on Saturday, I said, Teddy, I'm back and forth on the Eagles and the Saints. I took your advice. I went Saints. And after it was 6-6, I was like, oh, this isn't great, but it's the Saints. And then they just opened it up. On the flip side, Geno Smith picked 6. I'm like, hell yes, the Texans are going to roll. And they took years off my life as well.
Sure. And it was a very flat spot for Houston, and they played like it, Look ahead line here for Texans and Chargers with Houston -1.5, 39.5 the total. My powering number, Chargers -1.5. The markets open Chargers -1/1.5 last night, 39.5. And that's pretty much what we're seeing today. There is a couple of pickups out there, but mostly -1, -1.5 for LA against Houston. And the Texans already were. They're flat as a pancake. They had a 6-game winning streak going in. Now they have a 7-game winning streak, 5-2 ATS. They have the Colts week 18 after this game, which is likely to be, this game matters. Next week's game matters more. Texans, no turnovers, no sacks, but only 83 rushing yards, no passes at 25 yards or more. Yards per play, Vegas 5.9, Houston 4.4. They got outgained by 1.5 yards per play by Las Vegas on their home field. So clearly they didn't play their best game. Will Anderson, quote, "It's hard to win in this league." Saying that, we know we have a standard in this building where we want to play at. We don't feel like we play to that standard. Everyone feels it. Sometimes it feels like, man, we didn't even win the game. D'Amico Ryan said, it doesn't matter how it looks. Beautiful to get the win. I'm proud of our team for continuing to find ways to win. And that's the truth of it. They won ugly. It was a bad game. That was last week. Now they got Houston, LA. I'll tell you what, I'm not stepping in front of the Chargers right now. I'm kicking myself for not playing LA yesterday. Justin Herbert, every week we're getting quotes from somebody on the opposing team talking about how good this quarterback is. Here's Dallas cornerback Trevon Diggs, quote, "He's amazing. His accuracy, his escapability, his ability to throw on the run. He's got it all." 300 yards passing yesterday, clean game, no picks, no sacks, 10.3 yards per pass attempt. They had 152 rushing yards. Offensive line problems? Well, no problem against the Dallas defense. 7.3 yards per play. They went 7 for 11 on 3rd downs. So they clinch if Indy loses tonight. If they don't, they haven't clinched a playoff spot yet. Herbert, quote, "I think the really cool thing about this team is we've kind of taken it week by week. We're never looking too far ahead. We're never looking too far back. In the past couple of weeks, I think the defense did such a great job of helping us out. And today, we're able to kind of help out a little bit ourselves." There's some bet on for the Chargers moving forward, despite their strong track record. Maybe the betting bandwagon is getting there right now with LA. But there's if you ask me, Chargers, Texans, which team's more likely to make the Super Bowl? 100% Chargers for this better.
And while I'm sitting here looking for a Houston Texans teaser, Teddy, let's see what you've got going on over at WagerTalk.com before we get into these Sunday games.
Yeah, we're in play on Monday Night Football tonight. I have a single best bet in the NBA as well. What's the all sports? I think it's 10-4 all sports the last 4 days, so 71% making money. For the clients and I before the holidays, which is important. And never no one's going on a nasty skid right before the break. But we've been running good. I think it's 23-12 all sports, so 66% over the last 2 weeks. So we got to play in Monday. I'm playing Monday Night Football. I have a single best bet in the NBA, 5-0 with the last 5 in the NBA. I expect to make money in the NBA every year. And I had a freaking, November was one of these months that I couldn't do anything right in anything. November's a long way in the rearview mirror now. 5-0 last 5, back up to 198 units of profit in the NBA since 2022. So check out the homepage, wt.buzz/TC.
All right, Arizona snuck in the back door there for me from a teaser perspective yesterday, so I will take that gladly. Cincinnati, boy, oh boy, does that team look rejuvenated. Kind of break down your thoughts on the Bengals. They're essentially eliminated from the playoffs. That's correct, right, Teddy?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
so neither team has anything to play for essentially here.
Great, but again, we talk about nothing to play for. Everyone on every team is playing for a job. The teams that you have that don't play, that don't show up the last couple of weeks, those tend to be the teams that we thought we were going to make the Super Bowl and now we suck. The Chiefs yesterday, for example. But the bigger issue is the ability to respond to adversity. Like Miami and Cincy yesterday. Cincy played, the first half 17-14. It's not like the Bengals were, blown out, the second half, when Miami faced some adversity, the fight wasn't there. And you see that sometimes from the teams that have been eliminated, is the ability to respond to adversity is problematic. When things go south, they go really south, and you get some ugly losses. Cardinals, they don't. Sorry, look ahead line here. 5.5, 6. My powering number came Cincy 7/7.5. The markets opened 7/7.5 last night, and we're seeing mostly 7s this morning. 53.5, the prevailing total. Arizona continues to play competitively in defeat. They're in every game. They've lost 7 straight. They're 1-12 since the start of the season, 2-0. They're beyond injury riddled. I think they have 21 guys on IR right now. Max Melton was out. Paris Johnson got hurt. Jalen Thompson and Garrett Williams left in the first quarter and got carted off. And the rookie defensive lineman Walter Nolan was carted off yesterday. And Josh Sweat was hurt. I mean, the injuries are insane for Arizona. Jonathan Gannon, quote, "I love the resilience. I thought we battled in there, but ultimately fell a little short. I thought the key component of the game was we moved it, but had to settle for field goals while they converted some touchdowns." And that's true. But Washington yards per play, Arizona 5.7, Atlanta 4.7, and Arizona was +1 in turnover, but they gave up 3 of 3 red zone while only scoring failing to score in their 2 red zone tries. The effort is there. I think Jonathan Gannon deserves another chance. I don't blame him for the Cardinals' failures this season. As for Cincy, it was vintage Burrow off a shutout in Baltimore last week. 9.7 yards per pass attempt, 302 passing yards, only 7 incompletes, 4 touchdowns, no picks. That being said, defense faced Quinn Ewers and still allowed 6.7 yards per play. They had 3 takeaways. I was into the game +3. Zach Taylor, this is the situation we're in. This is what we can control. After the season, we have a chance to reflect back on the things we've got to do differently. Joe Burrow, this is how it's supposed to look like. This is what it's supposed to feel like. We got to keep that feeling going the next couple of weeks. Certainly the offense played well for Cincy yesterday, but don't think for a minute that defense is ready to get a whole lot of stops. It isn't.
Okay, let's keep it moving right along, Teddy. Seahawks, as you mentioned last Thursday night, got it done for us. I don't know how, but we will gladly take that win. They're now on the road at the Carolina Panthers, team that was my bright spot yesterday, getting a win over the Bucs. I'm very, very close to cashing that Panthers 4-1 ticket I gave out on Bet on It to win the NFC South. This game doesn't really matter in terms of that, though. Talk about this Panthers team. What do you think about them getting into the playoffs, and what does their future look like?
So I have Carolina ranked, power rated as my lowest ranked team that's still a little bit alive for the playoffs.
Wow.
So I'm not looking at Carolina as this juggernaut. They're approaching mediocre.
So they're a step up from last year. We'll take it.
Big step up from last year. And not hopeless. They're not awful. They're mediocre. They're mediocre. But note what I just said and compare that with what this market's doing. Look ahead line. Seattle -7.5, 42.5. I have Carolina power ranked as the lowest playoff contender. And my powering number comes Seattle -5. The market's 7.5. Look ahead. The market's 7 and 42.5 last night. And I'm seeing 7.5s out there this morning. So even with my low powering number for Carolina, the markets are saying I don't have the Seahawks ranked high enough. or I don't have the Panthers ranked low enough, at least not compared to them. And Seattle was unbelievably lucky to win that game. Darnold threw 2 bad interceptions, the pick 6, and the other one that killed the scoring drive. They were -3 in turnovers. They gave up 580 yards of offense. Obviously they had a very fortuitous review of a 2-point conversion. They converted all 3 2-point tries. They had the missed Rams field goal. They got lucky, very lucky. Sam Darnold, we're a resilient, relentless group. No, we got lucky. I thought this was an important quote from Cooper Kupp, worthy of note, especially when we talk about live betting. And I'm going to reference Alabama in a minute, but here's what Cooper Kupp said, quote, talk about that. They were down 17-0, and then they were down whatever they were down in that game. I forget. It just takes one play. It's just that one punt. Rashid takes it to the house, and then we're in a situation you can convert a 2-point conversion, and suddenly it's a 1-score game. And those little momentum shifts, the energy in the stadium has changed. My clients and I cashed ticket with Alabama this past weekend. They were down 17-0 at Oklahoma. They were facing 3rd and 5, and the receiver stumbled and caught the pass. He was kind of tripping, and then he ended up with a 29-yard gain. That pass goes incomplete. Alabama might lose that game 51-0. All right. Oklahoma was about to run them out. One play can change the whole trajectory of a game. And when you see that play and you see the energy shift on the sidelines, that's when you want to get involved in in-play. That's when your big in-play bets come into play. It does happen. And you can find these opportunities. So that being said, the 3 players from Seattle left in the secondary in the 4th quarter. This is a banged-up football team on the defensive side of the football. Kobe Bryant, Nick Emaroni, and Reek Woolen, although they will have extra time to prepare for this off the Thursday night game. The secondary injuries are a concern. Bryce Young had, the scramble of the year yesterday for throwing that touchdown pass. No picks, only 2 sacks. Dowdle and Hubbard, only 15 carries for 56 yards. They still won and covered. Earlier this year, I said Carolina can't win if they can't run. They couldn't run yesterday, and they won. But obviously, the Week 18 game is going to be the difference maker here. They have to travel to Tampa for Week 18. As long as it's not a Tampa loss and a Carolina win this week, next week's game is going to determine the division. So, Dave Canales, everything is right in front of us still. Give ourselves a chance to play meaningful football at this time of year. These guys have earned that. Worth noting, we talk about Detroit. 15 straight wins off a loss. That ended yesterday. Carolina, all of a sudden, 4 straight wins off a loss. Not quite like the Lions, but a streak worth paying attention to now that it's 4 in a row.
Teddy, our next game is going to be borderline unwatchable. At least that's my opinion. But maybe that doesn't mean it's unbettable. Thoughts on the New York Giants at the Raiders?
Giants and the Raiders look-ahead line here. Giants -2.5/-3, 42.5. My powering number came Giants -1. The markets opened 1.5 last night. There were some ones out there, 42. And we're seeing Vegas as the favorite today, -1 at most books. That total 41.5, 42. Giants, and remember, the loser of this game likely to get the number 1 pick. I know that no one on the field wants to lose the game, but I'm sure lots of management and fans want to lose this game. So it'd be interesting to see if we can find some quotes throughout the week, and we probably won't find a quote. If we can get a buzz throughout the week of which team's going to throw it. Worth noting, the Giants burned clock like it was Tinder yesterday. 7 drives, 2.9 yards per play, 0 of 3 in the red zone. The entire offense was Ty Tracy and Devin Singletary. They got 2 field goals on offense, and they played as slow as they possibly could with this, limited offense right now. Jackson Dart, this is a new experience for me. It hasn't been easy. I'm just trying to stay positive. They haven't won since October 9th, 9 straight losses. Mike Kafka is the interim coach, 0-5. That being said, the Raiders had lost 5 in a row, all by a touchdown or more. And yesterday, they're probably the best game they played in months. They still lost 9-game skid for Vegas. Gino threw a pick 6 early, and then he picked apart a pretty good defense. 200-plus yards, 8.7 yards per pass step. Jonty ran for 128. The defense allowed only 83 rushing yards. The defense didn't allow a pass of 25 yards or more. They really concentrated on avoiding the explosive plays. They outgained Houston by 1.5 yards per play. That being said, The defense forced no turnovers and had no sacks. Pete Carroll, quote, "This game was about how hard we should play and demonstrate how much we love the game. I thought that's what we showed." There's a lot of buzz. Pete Carroll's not coming back. I think Pete Carroll's coming back. I don't think he walks away from his coaching career like this. And I would be very surprised if the Raiders made a coaching move this offseason for what that's worth. But in terms of initially who's going to win, well, look where the money's come. The money's coming. The Giants have the number one overall pick right now with an interim coach. The Raiders have a coach who really wants to win a game. Money coming for Vegas as a result.
Let's see how high this one goes. I may see if I can find the Raiders in a teaser. I'm telling you, Teddy, I've been wussing out all season long and just taking the easy route because trying to handicap some of these games has been really tough. This is one that already caught my eye this week. Pittsburgh Steelers head to the Cleveland Browns. Now, the Browns have nothing to play for, yet they get to play spoiler, which is one of my favorite, as you know, situational spots, we'll call it, in the NFL. Shedeur Sanders yesterday, hey, he looked all right. He even hurt himself, came back and almost beat the Bills there at home. Kind of a shocking result. It was on Red Zone a vast majority of the day because there was a lot of great plays from those two teams. Pittsburgh shocked a lot of people and won at Detroit last night. Are these both teams headed in a positive trajectory?
No.
Maybe I'm being a little too nice to the Browns.
Yeah, the Steelers are. I mean, sure. The Browns are less hopeless than they've been. Look headline here. Pittsburgh 4.5 total, 34.5/35/35.5. There was a little bit of market variance there. My powering number came Steelers -6. The market's opened 4.5, 34.5 last night. And that's exactly what we're seeing this morning. 4.5s out there for Pittsburgh. The 4s have been mostly bet up, but there's still a couple out there. 34.5 the total. You know, Aaron Rodgers really didn't try to do anything but checkdowns yesterday. It worked fine. He only got sacked twice. The ball came out of his hands really fast. But when you outrush a team 230-15, like the Steelers did against the Lions yesterday, you're going to win, you know, usually. Of course, Pittsburgh, even with that, was life and death to win the game. Needed 2 touchdowns getting called back at the end to achieve that victory. They did have a season high 481 yards, but the defense blew the games. You know, they're lucky. I'll call it a lucky win. But Aaron Rodgers said this, quote, "It's been playoff type football for us the last 3 weeks. They've won all 3 of those games. So, I mean, this team's used to playing games right now. They have that mentality of, you know, win or go home, and that's meaningful. But it's more meaningful when you're a dog than when you're a favorite. As for Cleveland, 22 first downs yesterday, 8 of 14 on third downs. This offense is clearly better with Sanders. You know, he showed toughness. He left with that finger injury. His fingernail got ripped off, and he came back, and, you know, they had a comeback. Quinshon Judkins carted off the field, and they still were able to run the football, and Judkins is now out for the year. You know, but what do they play for down the stretch? That's why the NFL schedules all these division games the last couple of weeks, to give the teams that are out something to play for. The Browns are interested in beating the Steelers. This point spread is telling us that, as low as it is.
Yeah, Teddy, I feel like for some reason this last couple of weeks, I always play these garbage teams, and it is so frustrating. I mentioned, and it wouldn't have mattered either way, but I wanted you and VR's opinion on Saturday because I kind of was going back and forth from Survivor. And I told you my buddy said the Saints were going to win out, and the Saints look like they're trying to win out.
Sure do.
But now they're playing the Tennessee Titans, who might be a little rejuvenated after beating Kansas City yesterday.
Yeah. If you ask me which of these two teams I trust more off a win, it'd be New Orleans.
That's fair.
Tennessee was pretty happy off of yesterday's victory. Look ahead line here. New Orleans 2, total 39. My powering number is the Saints 3. The market's open, mostly 2.5s last night. There were some 3s out there, 39.5. And that's what we're seeing this morning, a mix of 2.5s and 3s in the betting markets. Total still sitting at 39.5. Tyler Shuck threw for 300 passing yards yesterday. He's doing enough to make the Saints think they might have their guy. You know, I don't agree necessarily. I don't think he's going to be a good NFL quarterback. I just think he's the most NFL-ready quarterback out of college. He's the oldest. He has the most college collegiate experience. He played for 3 different schools for 6 years. He's going to be okay, but I don't look at Tyler Shuck as the guy that's going to take you to the Super Bowl. But the Saints are having success with them right now, and that's meaningful. And the defense is blowing up the line of scrimmage. They had 8 sacks. They only allowed 195 total yards. They played really well the last couple of weeks. Here's my quote. This team could win out. First-year coach and trying hard. Tyler Shuck. We're super proud of what we're putting together. The season hasn't gone exactly as we wanted it to, but we stayed resilient. Worth noting, they couldn't run the football without Kamara in the lineup. Taysom Hill, the leading rusher. They went 0 for 3 in the red zone and still won by 23. As for Tennessee, they don't want a draft pick. They want a W, and that goes for every bottom feeder, players and coaches. Maybe not management and fans, but those guys aren't represented on the field. Tennessee lost 11 straight games at home, and they won. Mike McCoy, what a great team win, the interim head coach. That's the way it's supposed to be. It's been a long time coming since we won a home game here. Cam Ward, highest pass rating of the season, 122.3. And the previous 2 wins were both, DeMarcado fumble in Arizona, where they rallied back from what should have been a 28-6 deficit and won 22-21. The missed 2-point conversion in Cleveland when Sanders wasn't on the field. That's their 2 previous victories. Yesterday, they kicked someone's ass. Probably feeling pretty good about themselves. Don't know if they could do that twice in a row.
Okay, let's keep it moving right along here. NFL Week 16 on the WagerTalk YouTube channel. Shout out to all of you guys for hanging out with us here every single Monday morning. Shout out to those WagerTalk insiders in the comment section. Almost 2,000 of you watching live. Okay, the Dolphins, as I mentioned earlier, Cincinnati looked good yesterday, and it was probably because they played said Dolphins team. Tampa Bay, on the other hand, had a couple flashes there where I thought, okay, they're going to go into Carolina. I'm going to lose this +3 on the Panthers. But Baker Mayfield, it's like he's missing something. He's not making those big throws. He's not completing those passes or breaking those long runs like he was to start the season. Talk to me about them being pretty sizable favorites here in Miami.
Yeah, Baker Mayfield was the MVP after the first month of the season.
That's what I said.
Yeah, that was a long time ago now. Tampa 3/3.5 on the look-ahead line, total 46.5. There was a split line there. My power number has the Bucs -3.5. The market's open 4.5 and 46.5 last night. We're seeing 5.5 and 46.5 this morning. So nothing but Tampa money. The Dolphins, second straight week, they had a really bad third quarter. They've been outscored 35-0 in the third quarter against Pittsburgh and Cincy. 2 Quinn Ewers interceptions in the third and gave up 3 touchdowns. They did not respond well to adversity, which is what we worry about with bad teams when things go south. And the pass defense really struggled against Burrow. Ewers was okay in the other 3 quarters. 5 different receivers caught a pass of 18 yards or more. A-Chain had a big breakaway run. Ewers, quote, I was calm and ready for the opportunity at hand. Felt like I had a great grasp of the game plan. Felt like I had the confidence of the guys around me. Fired up to get their back out there on the field. And then they lose by 31. Bradley Chubb, Miami linebacker, quote, everyone needs to hold themselves accountable. We've been in the same position all year. We have to figure out a way and hold ourselves to a higher standard. We've got 2 games to figure it out. So that's not a quick quote, And for Tampa, this is healthy as the offense has literally been all year. They had 169 rushing yards yesterday. But when Edwards, Godwin, and McMillan combined for 76 receiving yards, 1 pass longer than 13 yards all day from the passing game, that's Baker, that's the offensive line, it's the receiving core, it's everybody. Of course, the loss doesn't matter. They get the rematch Week 18 at home for the division, as long as Tampa doesn't lose and Carolina win this week. Todd Bowles, quote, the biggest thing is our confidence is good and our camaraderie is good. That's not enough right now. With execution, we're lacking and missing a few things here and there. In 2 weeks, we get a chance to see them again and play for something. Note, that's not, we got a chance to play Miami this week. It's all looking ahead to Carolina. But obviously, if they lose and the Panthers lose, they're still alive to win the division in Week 18. And most people not expecting Carolina to beat Seattle this week, although stranger things have happened.
Probably the most exciting game on the board this week, or at least the one I'm most excited to watch here. Jacksonville Jaguars. Nope, I'm wrong. It is the Jacksonville Jaguars, but I skipped over the notes. Teddy. Woo! Monday morning. Jaguars playing at the Indianapolis Colts. The AFC South is going to be interesting. Jacksonville or Houston. Unfortunately, the Colts are out of the mix. But talk about this matchup. I know the Colts play tonight, Monday Night Football.
Look at the line here. Jags -5.5, 45.5. My power number only comes 4.5 for this ball game. The market's opened 6.5, 46.5 last night. If Indy gets beat tonight by San Fran, this number will be 7 tomorrow. So if you like the Niners, maybe you parlay the Niners with the Jaguars. If you like the Colts, maybe you take the Colts Monday night and then the Colts again next week. That is positive expectation, depending on your opinion about tonight's ball game. Certainly, I mean, the Jags have the smallest market in the NFL outside of Green Bay, the smallest fan base in the league by far, a way under the radar team. But since that loss to the Texans that I reference every week, game they led 29-10 in the fourth quarter and blew it. 6-0 straight up, 6-0 against the spread, cumulative margin of 205-92. Trevor Lawrence was sacked 5 times yesterday, but didn't throw a pick. They went 8 of 15, converting on 3rd and long again and again. This is the best football of Trevor Lawrence's career in his 5th year in the league. 4 of 5 in the red zone against the league's #1 red zone defense. Liam Cohen, he's doing it all. He's doing everything you want your guy to be doing it, and he's doing it at a high level. Trevor Lawrence, I feel great with our offense right now, what we're able to do, the passing game. Guys are making plays. We're doing a lot of things well. We just got to not take it for granted. And that, to me, is a concerning quote. That tells me that the team may be getting a little fat and happy. Again, nobody wins every week in the NFL. I don't think I'll be laying with the Jags in this spot, regardless of what happens with Indy this week. Of course, the Jags destroyed the Colts 3 weeks ago. Blowout win. That was a Riley Leonard game for Indianapolis.
Okay, Teddy, the New England Patriots, as we just spoke about earlier, off a Sunday night football win over the Ravens. Now they just have to go beat up on the lowly Jets.
And the Jets are pretty lowly right now.
They are very lowly.
Look at line here. New England 9.5, 43.5. My powering number, New England 11.5. I have the Jets, I believe, is the very worst team in the league right now. I do have the Jets as the worst team in the league. And my powering number is 11.5. The market's open 12.5, 43.5 last night, and now I'm seeing 13.5s out there in a lot of books. Brady Cook going to get the start again. And look, Cook's not an NFL starting quarterback. The offensive line's in shambles. They allowed 8 sacks. The defense is starting, 3 or 4 rookies every week. You have a first-time head coach. You already fired the defensive coordinator. There's not much the Jets can really do. They lost 3 straight. They've lost 5 of 6. They're 0-3 against the spread their last 3, although 3-3 against the spread their last 6. Aaron Glenn, Cook, he gives us the best chance to win. He wouldn't be in there if we didn't believe that. Cook's quote, "It's hard to tell exactly what's going on in the moment, but at the end of the day, I need to get the ball out after taking 8 sacks." Whoa, so that's a disconnect between coach and quarterback right there. Oh, and by the way, the defense just set an NFL record, the 15th consecutive game that they did not get an interception. So, meanwhile, Drake May threw for 380 yesterday. He rallied the team back from a lot of double digits in the fourth quarter, an MVP-worthy performance. They clinched a postseason spot. They have not yet clinched the division. Vrabel, we have not. We're going to try to win the division. We're going to focus on that. I'm excited. All credit to players. When we win, it's because of them. Worth noting, New England on the road has been a point spread machine. 7-0 straight up, 6-1 against the spread. The only non-cover was when they beat Cincy with Flacco by 6 at -7.5. Worth noting, May threw a pick 6 in that game against the Jets. He's not likely to throw a pick 6, being the Jets haven't picked up a pass all year.
All right, Teddy, give yourself a little bit of self-promotion. I know you've been on a nice little run over at WagerTalk.com.
Yeah, so, I mean, it's been a good couple of weeks, no question. 23-12 across sports. The NBA's hot now, 5-0 with the last 5 in the NBA. The NFL's been hot, 10-4 with the last 8-3 with the last 11. The NFL Sundays have been really good. I'm in play for Monday Night Football tonight. I got an NBA play up for it tonight. But don't buy plays, guys. If you want to get on board, if you're interested, get on board with the package. It's Christmas time. It's a great 10 days to all access pass. You can get on my homepage right now, wt.buzz/TC. And when you lock in with the package, you're going to get every play as soon as it's released. Makes things easier over the holidays, so you get instant alerts. Again, check it out, wt.buzz/TC. Let's partner up, make some money together over the course of the next day, week, month, however long you want to join me for. Appreciate your support, and thank you for your consideration. And, of course, I understand buying picks is not for everyone. If you don't want to buy picks, all we ask, hit that like button. Appreciate it. Comment below, tell us what you think, and, of course, subscribe to the WagerTalk YouTube channel. We appreciate all of your support, genuinely. And most importantly for all this stuff, happy holidays, guys. Really. Be safe, be happy, be good. Let's break down a couple more games, Kel.
Yep. Let's get into this. Is going to be the best game of the weekend. The Philadelphia Eagles head to Buffalo. Talk about some playoff implications here for both of these teams, Teddy. And it looks so easy just to tease the Eagles. I took the Commanders on Saturday. They were up 10-7, and I thought, all right, we're going to see a lot of effort from this team. And I was wrong. The Eagles had a really great second half performance versus them, and Buffalo did the inverse. They had a great first half performance versus the Browns, and then kind of just took their foot off the gas.
Yeah, so, I mean, Washington lost their quarterback. And now, again, teams that have had a disappointing season in game when they face adversity, you can have performances like Washington where there's just complete second half collapse. As for Buffalo, it was kind of a flat spot and they kind of played like it. Look at line here. Bills -3, total 45.5. My powering number, Bills -1.5. Markets open 2.5 and 45 last night. I'm seeing 2.5 and 45 again this morning. Not much activity on Christmas week. The markets, they'll always move on game day. Even Christmas Day, the wise guys are out there pounding stuff. But really, the odds logic live on screen has been fairly quiet this morning compared to a typical Monday morning. As for Philadelphia, 3 touchdowns on 4 second half drives. You talked about that. Those missed field goals that could have been real momentum killers. Instead, they came out and played really well. Saquon, 21, $132. That's only his third 100-yard rushing game all year. This offense works at a whole different level when Saquon is averaging 6 yards a carry. Dallas Goedert at the tight end. We've slowly been playing better and better on the offensive side of the football. And of course, they accomplished something yesterday or on Saturday that hadn't been done in the last 2 decades. They clinched the NFC East title. They're still playing for home field throughout the playoffs. But Jalen Hurts, I'm just happy we were able to check that off. And there was lots of adversity. They had a fumble on the opening kickoff. They had a pair of penalties on the tush push. They had the 3 wide left field goals, and they still blew them out, which, of course, speaks to Washington's ineptness. But I worry about Philadelphia on the road here against after clinching the division yesterday. I do on Saturday. That being said, the Bills had 164 rushing yards on 5.7 yards per carry against the Browns defense, but the Bills' rush defense allowed 160 rushing yards on 5.2 yards per carry. This is not a Super Bowl caliber defense right now. 7th straight game in which the Bills allow their opponent to score first. They allowed 8 of 14 on third downs, to Shedeur standards, a rookie quarterback. Yes, they won 4 straight. They won 5 of 6. They're only 3-3 against the spread during that span. And of course, Josh Allen hurt his foot yesterday, so we'll have to see how healthy he is moving forward.
All right, Teddy. Sunday night football. We've got the Chicago Bears taking on the team that plays tonight in the San Francisco 49ers.
Yeah, look ahead line here. San Fran 2.5, 50.5. My powering number, San Fran 2.5. The market's opened basically 2.5s and 3s out there last night, and that's exactly what we're seeing today. No movement on this game. Total 50.5 for the Bears and the 49ers. Of course, that's in San Francisco, though it was really warm. It was 60 degrees at Soldier Field yesterday. So the weather was not a factor in that ballgame. And, Chicago has now won 6 times this season after trailing in the final 2 minutes of a game. They had a 0.1% win probability and found a way to, get it done. And then in overtime, Williams with a dime. I knew it was good. You got to have that belief. You got that confidence. You got the swagger as an offense. You practice well. You hit plays like that in practice. It was pretty identical to practice. When the play gets called, the moment comes up, it's time to hit it. It's time to go win the game. Confident team, Chicago. A team responding well to adversity week in, week out. Ben Johnson, quote, "This is a special group." I felt that early in the season. You get that with some of these wins. The Raiders game, the Washington game, you start feeling it. The belief coming. This group, I'm talking about coaches and players combined, it's rare. It's lucky. San Fran plays tonight. Obviously, if they look good, this line's likely to be 3. If they look bad, this line could I think it'll still be 2.5, 3. But if you like the Niners tonight, if you find a 2.5 here, you can parlay the 2 together.
All right, we've got Wager Talk today coming up next. Dan Alexander and Andy Lang. But first, we've got to hit Monday Night Football. Teddy covers. We've got the Rams taking on the Falcons.
Yeah, I keep saying I'm going to go quicker. And it's hard for me, Kel. There's so much info. I feel like I could do this show. I could give an extra 2 minutes on every team every week. But it is what it is. Thank you for watching. And thanks for your support, guys. Really appreciate it. Look ahead line here, Rams minus 7.5, total 48.5. My powering number, Rams minus 6.5. And again, I have the Rams power rated as the best team in the league still. And my number comes on the other side of 7 here. And of course, the market's open 7.5, 8 last night, 49.5. What are we seeing today? 8.5's popping up there right now. There's even a prominent 9 on the Odds Logic live odds screen. So lots of LA money coming off a loss. 3 straight games for the Rams where the offense is 500 plus yards. But then again, the final 5 possessions of regulation, 4 punts and a missed field goal. And that's why they ended up losing the game to Seattle. The defense, this is one of those things you pay attention to. Defense was on the field for 88 plays for LA. And then they lost in the game, even after +3 turnovers, and the offense gained everything they wanted to. It's also worth noting without Devontae Adams, the NFL leading receiver in touchdowns, they settled for field goal in the red zone 3 times. And they fired special teams coordinator Chase Blackburn after the game. First time in 9 seasons in LA that Sean McVay has fired an assistant mid-season. Anyone who takes Kirk Cousins to be their starting quarterback next year is going to be severely disappointed. Kirk Cousins is still not an NFL starting QB. He can't escape the rush. There's nothing downfield. It's all dinks and dunks. He's looking creaky. He's not even getting hit much. He was sacked only once each of the last 3 games. Bijan Robinson's been unbelievable. And yet Atlanta was outgained by a yard per play against Arizona. Arizona won the turnover battle. The Falcons found a way to win, but the market's not impressed with them, clearly. Although my number says there is value on Atlanta as a home dog at this number. There's no urgency to bet it. All the money's coming through the other side.
All right. Thank you to Teddy Covers at Teddy_Covers. You guys can also catch him on End Zone Live on Sundays. And every once in a while, he pops on Last Call to give me some insight into college football, college basketball, and those early NFL games. Maybe you guys will see him again this Saturday. Shout out to all of you, especially our Wager Talk insiders here in the chat. Up next is Wager Talk Today with Andy Lang and Dan Alexander.